Still thinking about it.
Oh, is it live now? It's live now.
You sit and you stand and wait and you wonder. You think maybe it's me and I'm being a fool. You sit and you stand and wait and you wonder. You think maybe it's me and I'm being a fool.
What's up, my friends?
Hello, Sensei.
Hello. What's up?
Hello, ladies.
Hello. I couldn't really hear the video, so can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What's up, Tansikia? Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 12, our final episode of our first season of Here for the Shift. My name is Rachel Yayakikut, and I am a member from the Beauties and Okamasas Cree Nation, coming to you live from Treaty 6 territory. We obviously are starting a little bit later than we intended, but
fashionably
it's technical stuff, man. A lot of things that we can't really control. So thank you for joining us anyway. And we're excited to chat about, being Indigenous, Indigenous Peoples History Month, Pride Month, and just hanging out today before we part for a little bit and do other things. So what's up, ladies?
What's up? Tappy, do you want to introduce and then I can introduce?
Sure. Tapausi ataka tapisa kilabak inu vuunga dinner suite. So this week I know more Inuktitut than I knew last week, and I'm so proud of that. And I just said hello. My name is Tapisa Kilabuk, and I am Inuk, and welcome. My pronunciation is I'm still working on it, but it's getting there. And I think there's been a lot of talk lately about identity and Indigenous identity, and how, especially on social media, and how you're supposed to introduce yourself, and people are pushing more towards, I guess, announcing all of yourself. And I want to say that I have a white dad who is a settler descendant who settled on Mi'kmaq land, which is Mi'kmaq land in Nova Scotia. And we have white ancestry, but it's Irish, Scottish, and Dutch. It's such a weird thing for me to announce that, I guess, because I just have always seen myself as an Inuk woman since I can remember, and I've always been told that I was white. But Inuk. I strive to be white for a lot of my life until I was 26 years old, when I realized that I can't be. But yeah, so my name is Tapas Killabuk. I have a lot to think about this Indigenous History Month, and I'm a mom to 3 kids, and I'm a community organizer with a local organization here in Monkitstis, where I live, on Treaty 7 territory. Summer?
Yes, Tappy. Thank you for that. I really like that. Summer Dawn, Degueño, also known as the Kumeyaay tribe, located by Baja here in California. And I am 41 years old, and kind of just going along with what Tappy said and is doing. I am also a little bit more than just Indigenous. My father is Japanese and Irish. My father was actually born in Japan, at home with a midwife. And my mother is Native American and Hispanic. And as a kid, I remember growing up as being, going to powwows was my connection to my Indigenous community, and going to my great-great-grandmother's house learning natural ways through her was also a connection for me through to my Indigenous background, and other parts of my culture as well, with Japanese culture and white culture. And living in California, you're either white, black, or Hispanic. And the Indigenous culture is very small, so it was really important for me to connect to my Indigenous part of that culture and background. And I'm grateful to be here with you ladies tonight, and sharing some of those things about ourselves and about our background in our communities.
Awesome. Okay, well, I kind of missed all of that part for myself. I just like, so I'm from Bernese, where, it's Cree, or Nehiyawak people. And that's my dad's side of the family. And then my mom's side is Métis. So I'm also mixed ancestry, right? With so Métis people are Indigenous people with their own culture, specifically usually French and Indigenous. And they have language, culture, dances, things like that. Whereas other European cultures mixed with Indigenous ancestry would be considered something else, like still Indigenous, but they're not Métis. So there's that. And then, so my grandparents were fluent Makeshift speakers, which is Cree and French mixed together. So that was the language that they spoke. And then my father's side was Cree, and they spoke Cree and things like that until, well, they still do, but a lot of that was, was shifted, and it stopped for a long time when my family was in residential school. So, but yeah, so I'm a bit, interwoven as well.
Yes.
Thanks, Rach. And we are missing our beloved Shay tonight.
She's MIA.
But
If you're
maybe
out
she'll.
there.
Yeah, if you're out there,
We're calling you.
look for my smoke signals.
Somebody like the fucking sage.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's us tonight, and I think we're going to talk about, Indigenous History Month and Pride Month. But before that, we might drop some fingers. We might not. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Just into it.
We kept coming out. All right. So we're like winging it a little bit today, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Drop your fingers. Indigenous History Month and Pride Month edition. Drop your fingers if you know what the Indian Act is. Drop your fingers if you know what Manifest Destiny is. Ow! I got a cramp in my Okay. Drop your fingers if you are Indigenous. Drop your fingers if you know what the pass system is. Drop your fingers if you know what residential schools are or boarding schools. Drop your fingers if you know what the white paper is. Drop your fingers if you know what the red paper is. Drop your fingers if you know somebody in prison. Drop your fingers if you are homophobic. Drop your fingers if you know what two-spirit relatives are. And Tabby, do you want?
Drop a finger if you're here for the shift.
Oh, I thought you were going to say if you have a bannock.
Yeah, but yours was so serious. So I could just
I
throw
know.
bannock
But
bum in there. But I was gonna say, did you know that bannock or fry bread is ration foods that was limited to Indigenous folks? I'm gonna put my finger down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But drop a finger if you're here for the shift. Biatch.
Fucking bitches.
Lisa, I haven't been here in a while. Rowdy.
Yeah.
I wanted to share first. So I'm wearing my Cherry Creek. Not Cherry. Yeah. Hold on. Let me go get it. It's right
I
here.
thought she was wearing it. Oh. Cheekbone.
I'm wearing my Cheekbone Beauty lipstick, and I will post this in the comments. But this is made. I follow him on Instagram.
Mm.
Those are pretty.
And then this is my first piece that I got at a powwow that I paid for myself when I was 13, I think. No, 12 or 13. I mowed a lot of lawns for this thing.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Beautiful.
that is for today.
I'm wearing Cheekbone Beauty as well.
What color?
It's I think it's called Macock. MAKOC.
I like I like your cat.
First thing I thought of.
But I'm going to show you. I have my Cookham scarf on that I got from Cookham Scrunchies. I'm wearing my syllabic necklace that says I love you, Nalingi. And then I'm wearing my resilient roots earrings that my friend just bought me.
Ooh,
And
I
actually, my whole entire my confidence boost when I put on these earrings, and I just feel like I'm undefeatable. Like I'm fucking ready to take on the world in these earrings. So thanks, Anna.
Aww. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, frig. You guys are just ready. I'm only wearing black. I must feel like really butch today in my black jacket.
Stop.
I'm wearing my Dickies jacket. Okay, that's the mixed part of me.
That's your two spirit.
Yeah, and then I'm wearing my elk tusk earrings today.
Mm.
They actually. Yeah, they're elk. I thought they may be caribou, actually. I think they might be caribou. They smell really good. And I don't know who made them, but I got them from a place in Calgary, actually, Tappy.
Mm.
That little, God, what's it called?
Creek?
No, it's like a little house, and it has a medicine wheel on the front.
Yeah, that's Moonstone Creek.
Yes, I got it from
Moonstone Creation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is my amethyst I got from Summer Dawn.
Mm.
And my medicine bag that my dad made me.
Yes. You gave me my first medicine bag, and I've made my own. This is like my fourth one that I've made.
Really?
Yeah, I've made my own since because the one you gave me fell apart because I wear it when I take ice baths.
Oh, yeah.
But and I never take this off, and this is like the fourth one that I've made.
Nice.
Cute. I also, Christina sent me, my bestie sent me a bracelet, and I don't know what it is, but it's like when I touched it, I could feel the magic in it.
Yes, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
It's like this one that Summer Dawn made me.
I made
Oh
just
yeah.
Real hands there. But anyways, I'm decked out in summer dawn bling today.
yes, I love it. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mama Callie.
What up?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to post him because his work is amazing. Yes, and I need some confidence boost earrings too. We should all have a pair.
Hook me up.
Hook me up. So what
Okay.
what are we gonna talk about?
Mike.
My cock.
That was the
Hey, I need a lipstick named that. I'm gonna have to find it because I really like that color.
Thanks. Also, I got it in the 3-pack that they had a little while ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I think they're selling it individually now. But yes.
maybe you could post them in the comments, and maybe like our favorite Indigenous brands or Indigenous, artisans because of Indigenous Peoples History Month. You know, if you're gonna be buying shit, support. That's a good way to give back if you don't want to give back your land.
No, I'm gonna share his info before. I'll share his info in the comments for his IG. Yeah,
Love it.
All right, so it's Indigenous Peoples History Month. It's always an exciting time, June of the year. I mean, Indigenous Peoples Day, you're going to hear Indigenous people say Indigenous Peoples Day is every day, right? And that's fucking valid. But I find that in June, it's like there's just this energy around it, I find it very exciting and very amplified. And I feel so personally, yes, I'm Indigenous and I identify as specific things in my human experience, but ultimately, I don't really like labels and I don't really like attaching to things and that kind of thing. But I'm also learned to become really proud and accept who I am as an Indigenous person. That wasn't always the case. So, what about you ladies? Like, were you always really, loving and accepting of who you were as an Indigenous woman, or were you, did you have to kind of process or go through some stuff to really come into owning that?
I was like, when they talk about assimilation and assimilating Indigenous people into like mainstream Western society, like that is who I was. I was so assimilated into the systems and the processes that I saw myself differ from my indigeneity. Like I was just like, I am not that. Those things don't happen to me. I'm a good one. I'm a rare one. And I thought it like that. And I thought I could be an ally. I was just like, I'm not like I'm Indigenous, but I'm not one of those Indigenous. Like I'll be an ally. When I was going through like university and trying to understand what was happening, and this one woman was just like, you need to think about what has impacted you in your life and how you can't be an ally. And like that fucked up my whole entire world for like 4 days. And then I was like, a turtle on its back, and I was just like, who am I? But yeah, I feel that I was not happy with who I was.
But why do you think that was? Why? What do you think put you in that mind frame?
I think, oppression is definitely a big part of it, but I also I spent very little time in like my mom's ancestral homeland. My homeland's like where my blood flows through my body and where it originated from. And I left there at a young age, and then I moved into like white mainstream civilization, and that's all I consumed. We had like indigenous, like Inuit art, and I had an Inuk mom who spoke the language and looked like was super brown, and but it was just nothing that I had nothing to relate to, and I could relate to the other people. And I wrote on my Instagram today, like, I walk into a room of white people and I'm a brown person, but if I walk into like a room of brown people, I'm the white person because I talk like a haluna, which is a white person. I talk like them. I think like them. I'm trying to not think like them, and that is a process in itself of like deconstructing what the Western world has taught me. But like that was very much a part of my like consciousness, and it's now I'm starting to let go of it. Well, it's been like going over for a while. Like I have a face tattoo now, but now everything is being kind of like, do I deserve this space because I have white ancestry, or this tattoo because I have white ancestry? And that's a lot of the conversation that has been happening in our like, in social media and our consciousness, like who is authentic and who isn't. And I'm trying to understand like what is that? What does that even mean?
But is
like
that more of a feeling rather than an actual like thing,
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's a feeling of like what makes something authentic, like being true. So if you feel like you're being true to yourself, then in return, I feel like you're being authentic. If we're speaking true of the word, you know what I mean? So like, and I feel the same way. Like if people picked me apart, do I feel like I am worthy of donning or wearing these items? And I say I do because I know the authenticity I have in my heart is genuine and true. And I think that if you feel like you are being your genuine self and you're wanting to elevate your indigenous part of yourself, or you're wanting to let that shine, or you're wanting to enhance or influence that in yourself, who is to say that you can't? I mean, I don't know. That's just my thought about it. Because if I identify as being, indigenous, whether I'm more indigenous or I'm more white or I'm more Hispanic or I'm more Japanese, if I want to identify as being indigenous and loving that part of my culture, who's to say that I can't do that?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I agree with that. It's like, I feel like the whole defining thing is just a part of that like colonial mindset, right? What people sometimes don't understand is that it's not just like an identity thing and people wanting to be proud and feel proud of who we are. It's literally like coming back from racist and oppressive laws and systems that were specifically created to erase that, right? So those are all were implemented for erasure of Indigenous peoples. People think it's like, well, when we want to I feel like for me, when I wanted to define myself, you know, or like how I wanted to define myself, how I want to define myself, whether that's like on a physical sense, a spiritual sense, you know, whatever that is, I would seek that outside of me still. You know, I was always looking for some fucking approval, right? Or like some people to accept me. And what I learned is just like, the deprogramming of thinking that we need to do that, that somebody else can define who we are. Because our ancestors literally had laws and things defining them. And, you know, it wasn't long ago where that we're still being defined, right? If you think about it, there's status Indians, there's non-status Indians, right? That's defining Indigenous people still, right? So I totally agree. If you're being authentic, if you feel authentic in who you are and you fully love yourself and fully come into who you are and own that shit,
Yeah.
it doesn't fucking matter what anybody else thinks or says. But it's a journey, you know, like to really come back and love yourself after maybe the experiences that you've had or the things that you've seen growing up. And then having to learn about that when you're like 23, 24 years old in an academic setting, that's fucked up. Right? That's fucked up, to be living in it, immersed in it, not understanding what it is, not having an idea of like, why is this like this in my home? Why are most of my family in prison? Why are most of my family on drugs? Like, when you're immersed in that and you grow up in that, you don't really question it. So it's taking you know, like occupying those spaces in academic settings, then you finally start to learn about like history and like what actually happened with Indigenous peoples, and it's fucking culture shock, and people don't get that. So
Totally.
define yourself any way you want. That's what I say.
Yeah.
I was kind of having that same conversation with my daughter today, because it's Indigenous Peoples Week at her school, and she was talking about how her teacher asked if she wanted to like do a pre-recording of her speaking in her language if she wanted to. It's totally up to her, but they're giving her the option to, and she's kind of like apprehensive of doing it. And I was just like, I like looked her in the eyes, and I was just like, the white man tried taking your language away from you. It's okay if you want to speak it. And it's like, and she was just like, okay. But she's like 12, so it's pretty intense when you use the white man's law. But it's just something that I don't want her to feel apprehensive about, because it's not normal. It's not normal in her like consciousness because of what is like in her consciousness, which is Western society and whatever that looks like to her and her peer group. Sorry. That's kind of like what I was, you know, offering teachings to her about.
Yeah. It's good to have open conversations like that with our kids too. And like with Cannon, when I teach him social studies, he doesn't look at a regular map. So it's like kind of like what I choose to teach him, and luckily I'm able to teach him at home. I show him the map of all of the different tribes and where they come and where they originate from and where we come from, and it's a map of the United States, but it doesn't have Arizona, California, Nevada, Missouri, Montana. It has, you know, Cree, Crow, you know, all these other different where people originate from, you know, and I want to teach him that way. And I also want him to know about all the other parts and cultures of him. You know, I think that's important for him to understand and acknowledge. And I can guide him in that way, though, you know, and what he's thinking, what he's learning, but also allow him space for him to grow and learn, evolve, you know. That stuff is important too. I think that's good, that we need to have conversations like that with our kids. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like the norm, right? Like it's just like normal because this is who you are. This is, you know,
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, I mean, that's going to take time, you know, where our children or our grandchildren or our great grandchildren aren't having to like learn about that shit somewhere, right? They're just going to be it,
Right.
embodying it again. And I think that a lot of the time, you know, I just, even when I talk to my dad about things, I can just feel his, he's not like an angry person anymore. He's done a lot of healing, and he's very knowledgeable. You know, he's a knowledge keeper, a language keeper in the community, but you can still feel these old people's pain, because that generation, as much as they carry things and carry traditions and languages and culture and stories and songs and ceremonies, they didn't really have a lot of like space holders, you know. They didn't have a lot of the people to hold that space for them.
Yeah.
To heal maybe like deep wounds, especially like with all the residential school findings coming up right now. You know, it's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And I would, you know, ask him question, you know, how he's doing, how are you doing, check on him. And he just, you know, we've talked about this before over the years, but our parents and our family knew this, you know, like they knew that there was people buried all over these places, all around these places. And, you know, we have, like where I'm from, that was the last residential school that closed in Canada. And it was in 1996. And that wasn't a long time ago.
No.
You know, I was 13 years old. And if I was on the res, I would have been in a residential school.
Yeah.
But, you know, and we have family, my Cookum's children, my dad's siblings are buried around that school too. So, you know, I know it's probably shocking for a lot of people, you know, a lot of people collectively, like mothers and just people with a fucking heart, you know, like and a conscience, like, but it's not really, I don't think it's really shocking for a lot of Indigenous people, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people weren't aware of it, and they didn't know, like there's been like this huge shock to the, you know, to not the media, well, maybe the media, I mean, I don't know, but people weren't aware of residential schools, in the sense of residential schools. When you hear residential schools out here, you think, oh, it's a regular school, you know, but when you really speak of residential schools, you're talking about res schools where these kids were taken, you know, and put into these schools to be reconformed, or, you know, and then it's just terrible. It really is sad that these things were happening, and that they were happening not that long ago. I graduated in 98. I graduated high school in 98. So if the last res school closed in 96, like, granted, I'm a little bit older, but I mean, that's not that long ago,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
And it's a sad thing, but it's reality, and it's something that, people need to be educated on.
I'm doing this. I'm just going to just share this with you guys, and we have some comments that need to be addressed. But like, I'm doing this. My work created this thing, wrestling with the truth of colonization. And it's a 10-hour, really deep in there facilitation to talk about how you and your family and your descendants and your settler descendants, whatever it's called, has made impacts on the systems that are created to oppress Indigenous people today, and how that is continuing with your very existence, and how you're perpetuating that without you really realizing it, and just like going through it. It's really intense. But I was there the last Monday that I missed on this show, and I was in like a relational meeting, one-on-one with a woman, and she was talking about how when her like maternal and paternal family came to Alberta, they got free land. So they both of her sides of her family got free land. And this was in the moment of when my mom was being evicted from her home at residential school survivor. You could just see the gigantic difference between what their reality is as non-Indigenous people compared to what my mom's is. And I don't think people actually see it as that, the hand up or the handout. And my mom gets nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And where I'm from, so there's things that there's so many things that people, and it's the systems like that have failed, right? In sharing this knowledge. Because if you think, I don't know about you guys, but I didn't start learning about Indigenous people until I think I took one class in high school. They talked about something and then they brushed it off, no big deal. But it was nothing about the Royal Proclamation. It was nothing about, the Indian Act. It was nothing about things like the white paper, the red paper, the pass system, reservations, the residential schools, the 60 scoop. None of that shit. You did not hear a fucking thing about that stuff. And without knowing without knowing that factual stuff, it's people are just making up shit. People are just assuming things. They're creating stories. They're creating these narratives based on their own perceptions of not experiencing, not knowing, and not understanding what the history of Canada is, or North America, whatever, the fake ass borders. And then doing something with that awareness, right? But we can't blame people because the system is fucking flawed like that. The system wasn't built to be like, hey, look at all these beautiful Indigenous people and cultures, right? Is literally to kill the Indian and the child. Mm-hmm. So when I hear you talk about that, Tappy, I feel angry still, in a sense, that is something that I feel resentful about. And I still am working through that. And I know that, I'm aware of it. It's not necessarily to a specific person or people. It's just the fact that people have these plots of land, just we're given all this land, and Indigenous peoples were segregated to reservations, specifically on a little piece of land, and we're told, no, you can't leave here without a pass. You're not allowed to go fucking hunt. You're not allowed to go feed to fish. You're not allowed to go feed your family. You're not allowed to go anywhere without permission from this Indian agent who was a white person, a white man. And without that pass, you're not allowed to leave here. You're not even allowed to carry a gun. And that was literally something that existed until 1971.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like, oh, it's in the past. It's like history. Get over it. Right. And we're here celebrating this little month that we've been given. The fact that our fucking ancestors, our family, my uncles, were not allowed to go hunt and like go do the things that were inherently who they were on this land, living in harmony with everything, the sun, the earth, the moon, the stars, the animals, before colonization. And so people will come and talk to you about, oh, veganism and be a vegetarian and don't kill animals and what are you doing? And it's like, don't fucking come spew that shit to Indigenous peoples that are literally reclaiming food sovereignty. Like barely scratching the surface right now. That kind of thing. So it's like when you talk about the land thing, Tappy, in that way, our family was supposed to be given 120 acres of land per family of 5, and it never happened. And the only way that you would get land is if you sold your identity. You sold who you were. You would sell being an Indian, your status in being a status Indian. It's called disenfranchisement. Look it up. Like, so people just go buy land, like Monopoly, the Monopoly game. There's no Indians playing Monopoly. It's all white people.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sad reality, but it's a reality. Does someone want to read Natasha's? You're going to make me put my glasses on?
Yeah, I think we all need to see you in your glasses.
Okay. I'm trying to understand who is considered non-Indian. Being told I'm not Métis, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because our family was told to be ashamed.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a real thing. And growing up, like for me growing up out here in California, like I was talking about, like I think in high school, because in high school is where you kind of like acquire your identity. Like if you had to choose who you're going to go with, and we've talked about this before in one of our discussions, because of my mixed culture, I could pick if I wanted to be white one day, I could pick if I wanted to be Asian one day, I could pick if I wanted to be Hispanic one day. But mostly the majority usually pick the stronger of the whatever. So I was Hispanic, and that was who I identified with. I had no idea if there was any other Indigenous people in my high school. And it wasn't until my mom and my dad started taking us to Indigenous gatherings and powwows and stuff like that. And we would go to the Indian clinics and stuff like that. When we would go to the Indian clinics, we would hear people speaking their language. And it was like the most beautiful thing that I've ever heard. And then going to, powwows and stuff like that and seeing people that I could identify with and that looked like my grandpa, that looked like my auntie, that looked like my mom. But growing up, it wasn't until I got a little bit older is when I realized and started learning about myself. Started digging deeper and learning more about myself, because it was kind of hard to get a lot of the information from my great-great-grandmother, my great-grandmother, and even my grandpa. It was something that was difficult to kind of get that history from. So yeah, it was, but I wouldn't say it was, I was never ashamed. I just wasn't informed, or it wasn't something that I had tons and tons of knowledge about until I got older.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about this memory just a couple of days ago, and I can't remember why it triggered it. And I remember like my mom's identity was like a joke to people, like she's Inuk, she's Eskimo, she's Inuit, like she's, haha, look at her. Oh my God, does she make authentic dream catchers? Oh, can she make me some moccasins? And, people didn't see her for who she was. And I remember them, like, she worked at this place and they would call her Chili Willy. That was their nickname because because she was from the north. She was a penguin.
Uh-huh.
And I think that is what led to a lot of, like, not led to all of it, but like it led to some insecurity. And I remember hating my brown skin. Like recently, because I've been getting some sun, I'm way more brown than I was like when I started this show. And I remember like every year, like around my birthday, because my birthday's in July, like I'm so brown, and I hated it for so long. And I hated it until I was when I was an adult, and like until probably 2016, 2017, not too long ago. And I have since embraced my brown skin. But I remember like wanting to scrub it off. I just hated it so much. But
my mom could probably relate to that. They called her some of her pupils sold their land. What? Mama, I can't read without my glasses. That's why we get to go to the dentist, doctor, behavioral medicine without pay. Yeah, I know. No, we didn't sell it. Well, we sold our land because they told us that it was a good price. It was like a penny a fucking acre. And we had my family lived on Indian land. They lived on like the res out by, it was like Corona area called Prado Dam. And yeah, I mean, that happened to thousands and thousands and thousands of Native Americans, Indigenous people. Their land was bought from them, basically stolen from them, for pennies, But what I was saying about brown skin, they would call my mom, she was so dark, they'd call her black, and she probably got more of it when she was little, when she was younger, growing up. She thought her name was Sambo, which is, I think, a story about a black kid, because they called her Sambo. And she didn't even know that her name was Donna because they called her Sambo so much, is what I remember a story, being told. But that, I think that when we get older, through our adolescence and growing up as adults, is when we can make the choice for ourselves and decide. We get to choose what direction and what thought pattern we want to continue to take, and how we want to see ourselves, how we want to perceive others, how others see us, and how we can embrace our beauty, because Tapi, you are beautiful. And I love your skin, and I love your way that you present yourself in your culture. And the same with Rachel, you know, the way that we present ourselves in our culture. I think it's something that is beautiful, and it's all unique, and it's all different, and we're all different individuals living different experiences. And I think it's something that is beautiful. And which wants me to ask the question is, how do you individually feel like you allow yourself to connect with your culture? Like Tapi got this beautiful facial tattoo, which I feel like is like a becoming of herself, you know. But besides that, like, what is something or practices that you do to allow yourself to connect?
I think like one of the obvious things that I love to connect to, like my indigeneity, is in what I wear. And I think a lot of us Indigenous people can relate to that, like my earrings, my necklace, my kukum scarf. Even though, like, I would not Cree, I do not have a kukum, but maybe someday I will. But like, I remember, like, my Ananasiak, my grandmother would call it her hanky. My Ananasiak's hanky, but I like the sound of kukum scarf, so that's what I go with. And I think another one is language, and I'm not very good at it, and I'm only just learning. But it's like living in that moment where I'm able to, you know, say it out loud and not be afraid of saying it out loud because I don't have the pronunciation, because I don't actually really know what it sounds like. But that's something that I really feel connected to. And I think like the group First Nations, like groups from around this area, taught me how to smudge. And I thought that is really cool. But and another one is tattoos. Like I have this one, and I have these on my arms. I have syllabics. I have an inukshuk. So it's definitely, that's kind of some of the things. How about you?
I think it's beautiful. For me, so I would say the last couple of years, like you said, like donning ourselves, wearing the things that bring out the beauty of the Indigenous culture is what I've done since I was younger. But just recently, like in the last, I would say, I don't know, maybe four years or so, I started getting into leather work and bead work. And that was something that brought me a lot of joy and really gave me a sense of appreciation of the craft, because it's so much work. And understanding, like when I see people that are in full beaded gowns or in their regalia, how much work it is, like, to have something like that. So doing my beadwork, my leather work, and then I started doing the flute, and that because music and sound is something that really resonates with me, and I started learning and just learning on my own, and it's something that has been really good for my soul, that I feel like has, you know, just given me something that I feel like I can connect with on a different level. So like, this is some of the leather that I've done. I have to take it off because it's so hot. But this is some of the leather that I've done. And it just started out with a big leather piece. And this is some of my beadwork. And it's a fringe, and it's reversible. So this is the inside
Cool.
that I did. And you know, I mean, it takes a long time, but it gives me a sense of what people were doing a long time ago and people are still doing today. And it gives me a sense of, you know, appreciation for the craft, like I said. So those are just some things that I do. And like you said, smudging, I've done that. I've been doing that for a long time. You know, laying down tobacco for offering, and I keep lemongrass in my car and for protection, and just certain things in ceremony I feel like are regular daily things that I do and I use to help keep me connected and keep me grounded. What about you, Rachel?
Pretty much, not pretty much. A lot of similar things. Like I'm not creative in the beading sense. I don't do that. I can't even put a fucking finger down without getting a cramp. Like beading would definitely probably cause some cramping, but I do, you know, more like smudging and meditating and praying, putting tobacco down. I play with like sounds as well in my rattle. I've been doing some singing more lately. I don't have songs like I don't have songs that were passed down to me or anything like that, but I do pay attention to my intuition and my spirit when I feel called to something or drawn to something, and then just kind of go with it. And sometimes that means I'm singing when I don't even really know what I'm singing about or why I'm singing, but I just allow it. And I also have tattoos, you know, like with syllabics all over my body, and language. You know, I like to learn from my dad more Cree whenever I can. And yeah, just kind of like, you know, I'll go to like powwows or round dances here and there, but I'm not like an avid, you know, I'm not on the trail like some of my sisters are, or like, you know, at a round dance all the time, but trying to snag. But I just like, I do like to go, you know, there's just something about it. There's something about the energy, the drum, the music, the people. It's just, yeah, it's all about, I guess, the mood that I'm in. But I more like, yeah, and I wear jewelry and stuff, you know, I like to support that. And I like to have tea with elders and old people. So I try to engage in that, you know, and just listen to their stories and to learn from them. And I have some really great people in my life and mentors like that I didn't have before. So I'm pretty grateful for that.
Yeah. Story time is good. Yeah.
I think we all forgot the land.
Yeah, well,
the connection.
Tobacco, land.
Yeah.
But yes, big.
Yeah, Rachel, I sent you some pictures about of my garden, and
I did not make the video.
But that's something too. Yeah, I didn't mention, and I teach my son about which my grandma, my great grandmother, and my great grandmother taught me, was about healing herbs and things that you can have in your garden. And so we keep mint, and we keep eucalyptus, and we keep rosemary, and we keep lavender, and there's so many different things that we have to keep in our garden for healing. We like to grow our own food, and I have squash and tomatoes and sunflowers and apples and oranges and lemons, and there's just tons of stuff that I love the fact that I can grow from the land, and I have a tobacco plant in my backyard and stuff like that. Is something that I feel like it's important for me to teach my son, and for him to connect with that and understand that that is something that, for me, we're supposed to do. And if we're able to do it, we should do it. And I couldn't wait to plant this year. And it was something that was so important to me. So yeah, that's something that's been evolving more and more in the past couple of years for us. What do you recommend for people who have been ripped from their own people?
I think it's okay to tell yourself that it's okay to reconnect.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where you got to start. And I think a lot of my own journey, and I'm not saying this can be a reflection of yours, Natasha, but there was a lot of forgiveness that I had to go through before I went on this journey of discovery or rediscovery or recreation is what I've been trying to use more of. And that I was okay with that. I was okay with, well, I wasn't, but then once I realized that I'm sorry, I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning.
I know, and it's past your bedtime.
It's so past my bedtime. I even had a coffee at 8 o'clock, but I am exhausted. But it's just, and I see that Natasha is saying it's so complex, and it definitely is. But I think you need to find the gratitude you have for yourself and your own indigeneity, and just kind of seek goodness. And yeah, what do you think, Summer?
I would say, yeah, I would say finding forgiveness, because through forgiveness you can heal. And then and this could be past trauma, this could be generational trauma, right? Or it could be decades and decades of of this happening, and we're still seeing the effects of it. So finding peace with that, and then forgiveness. And yeah, like I think for me and Tappy, both, we've kind of been on the same path where we've kind of come into our own a little bit later in life, and set our own journey and self-discovery and renewing. For me, it's always been a little bit of a part of me, but now I can determine how much I want it to be a part of my life, and how much I want to embrace that part of me. So I think that it's just setting forth your own destination, your own journey.
Yeah, and I think that kind of just sums up my own don't want it. If you're talking about other people, Natasha, that's not your journey just yet, maybe. And just kind of, get to know who you are, and if the journey of your own, and it comes to that, but you can lead by example if that's something you desire, but
yeah.
Yeah.
What
do you think, Rach? I remember Rach, we did an EFT I don't know if it's EFT or PPP or TTPPP.
EFT.
A
EFT.
poo,
Yeah,
a
you're right.
poo, a poon and a pop. We did a session, and then we were just kind of like linking back, like where my like embarrassment and like some of that like deep rooted like trauma came from, and we just came to that realization that like I've been carrying the trauma of my past ancestors and the women of my life. They all carried me in inside of themselves, and whatever they experience, I'm carrying it with me now. But before that, I didn't know how to let it go. And that's kind of like what Rach had like coached me through, that she helped me let it go. And I think that's a lot of the some, not a lot, like some things that can be someone else's experience, and I think that's just something that we all may need to come to terms with.
Yeah. Like I was like intergenerational trauma, you know, something that, or maybe it's just a thing that you carry yourself. That's something that you need to release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure what was said. It had to pee, but if you want to reconnect with something, I always feel like you can choose how you want to do that, right? Like there's no rules. There's no rules to it.
Right.
But really it's you wanting to reconnect to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say the more that you like learn to love yourself, and the more that you forgive yourself, you know, for not knowing something, or not being connected to something, or not being part of something, or not feeling connected to somebody, or your family, or your ancestors, or your culture. I think that forgiveness is a really big thing, because we will blame ourselves, right? We'll like criticize ourselves and like, oh, like I should have known that, or like, oh, how, like I could never do that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember in high school, you know, so I have privileges, right? Like I don't really say like white passing. I say like I'm mistaken for being white, because I'm not white. I'm not. I identify as an Indigenous person, Indigenous woman. So I don't say that. I don't think that I'm like a white. I think people mistake me for being white because I have lighter skin. So in high school, I had those privileges to just kind of like learn how to blend in, you know, because I felt really ashamed of who I was as an Indigenous person, because what people were talking about when it came to Indigenous people were the stereotypes, were the negative things that they heard about Indigenous people. Oh, they're drunks. All they do is fucking party. All the, you know, they're all like, you know, they don't work. They're lazy. Like just these like terrible things that I had never heard before,
Mm-hmm.
because I was just living my life as an Indigenous person, as an Indigenous kid, immersed in a lot of things where some of that stuff was a reality. Not saying that there's laziness or that kind of thing. I think that is a huge stereotype. It's the addictions and where that came from, right? Where that stemmed from. My point is that in high school, there was like 5 Indigenous people in my entire high school. And I was one of them out of like 2,000 kids. And so I had the, you know, I had the privilege of just like, I don't have to fucking show up as like a brown person every day. And people say like, there's an Indian, right? Or there's another Native person. But I had internalized so much of that shame and so much of that shit that people would talk about, that people would say like horrible things, racist, horrible things. So I had like people around me be literally blatantly racist to my face about who I was, about my family, about where I came from. And I remember one girl coming to dance. You know how at high school you have like pep rallies and stuff, and the whole school like goes into the gym, and I don't know how it is in the States summer, but
Yeah.
in Canada they like go to the gym, and then people, you know, get on the mic and they're all doing these like fucking games and things and getting people riled up for like the football game and shit.
Yeah.
So they have that, and like they had like a cultural part to one of them, and a girl came out, this beautiful, beautiful Indigenous girl, and she came out and she did the jingle dance, and I was like, oh my god, like she's really gonna do that here, like that's fucked up when I think about it now, but like she came out, she was so proud, you could feel it, she was like glowing, like she was glowing, she had this light, like this like this confidence, this sense of self, this like proud like aura, like loving divine aura around her, and she just like jingled, and I remember sitting there and like thinking of how beautiful it was, but also like feeling like I wanted to cry, like I was just felt like
Oh, Rach. Like right now.
Okay, where can we get a hug for Rachel?
So, you know, I just felt a lot of grief, right? Like, because I thought, well, I could never do that. You know, I'll never probably be able to do that because I don't even know where I would learn that. I don't have anybody to teach me that. And I was literally just telling this story to women in a workshop yesterday, but I didn't cry. So I don't know why I feel emotional about it today. But anyways, my point is that that disconnect that we feel or have felt, you know, it really just comes back to like learning to love and accept ourselves, and let go of that shame, let go of that, like, you know, like we did something wrong, and forgive ourselves for not knowing, and we can always reconnect to something if we want to, if we choose to. So I just think that I'm sorry, what's her name? Natasha. Yeah, if that's something that you want to do, just don't let anybody get in your way.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think, yeah. Thanks, Rach. Speaking of coming out,
are you coming out?
No, but this show is about pride too.
Yes.
And, you know, we got to make that safe space. We got that res water.
Man, I can't. People are, wow, you know, people need a lot of smudging.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard about that? Diane Thomas, is that his name?
I think so.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to share like kind of the backstory in case people don't know what the heck we're talking about?
I didn't watch the video because I knew that it was too cringy to watch, and I actually could not put the energy into watching it, even though it's probably a great example of what Indigenous erasure looks like with that video by an Indigenous person. But what I heard, it has something to do with the water. But I'll let you go. I just saw all of the after posts and was just like so outraged that this was happening in our community.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's about.
So basically the guy made a video.
Who?
This Diane Thomas dude who's like a model, I guess, an Indigenous model, and apparently he does a lot of advocacy and speaks in communities and stuff about suicide prevention and like all kinds of like other things, right? So people like hire him to come and speak to youth.
Okay.
And anyways, he posted this video about, it's Pride Month, right? And so he was talking about, I don't care if you're gay, if you're a lesbian, and blah blah blah, whatever. I don't care about that. And then went on to basically say like he thinks Indigenous, there's more people that are Indigenous that are gay because of the government putting something in the res water. So kind of like like a bit of a conspiracy theory, I think, mixed with some of maybe his own perceptions around not really understanding. No, he was dead fucking serious. And like, so the whole thing, like why Tappy said like about the res water is because you know how Indigenous people are. They're gonna make jokes, right, about this. But it actually was like pretty serious in the beginning, right? Because there's a high percentage of suicide rates for LGBTQ2S relatives or like community. It's higher. It's like 27% higher than regular. I don't want to say regular, but than like youth in general. And so his words didn't really align with the things that he stood for at all. Mm-hmm. And so then the joke is, everybody's gay because of the res water. Which is like fucking stupid but funny. Like it's not like it's funny because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think we're just learning our lessons to not be like that person.
Yeah.
And not to like some res water is pretty bad out there. And maybe an issue with the water is definitely something that needs to be highlighted, and our democracy of what we call Canada, and they need to get water to our communities. But despite that, I think that's where we need to talk about creating space and safe space and making sure, our two spirit relatives or however they identify LGBT Q2S feel loved and supported and needed in our communities. What do you think about that, Rach?
Why are you targeting me?
Yeah, we are.
No, I think you have a good perspective.
I'm just joking. I'm
in commenting to the res water, I just want to tell everybody, don't drink the Kool-Aid. And in saying don't drink the Kool-Aid, that means don't feed into, don't fucking drink the Kool-Aid.
We drank Kool-Aid all the time on the res. What?
Right. That means don't believe everything that you hear, obviously.
Yeah. I know. Like,
don't drink the Kool-Aid.
But that dude, I think, got canceled pretty quick. And I mean, it's a learning, just one more comment about that. It's a learning thing, right?
Yeah.
He obviously is miseducated in a lot of ways, but that doesn't mean he gets to just say things that might have like a negative impact on people when he's supposed to be showing up for the opposite, right? But anyways,
back to sharing space.
Holding space. I mean, it's important for everything, like healing, well-being, being comfortable in your own skin, reconnecting with yourself, knowing yourself, loving yourself. Like it's all like connected to, like with what we've been talking about today. And what even people are asking questions about, like wanting to do that for themselves. Like that's beautiful. That's a beautiful journey to be on. I think like, I again with, with a label or like an identity, I I always kind of considered myself more like queer or like two-spirit. I didn't really like say two-spirit for, you know, for a long time. But I always knew that what I felt and who I was not like a straight woman. So which is what you're basically like shown all like as you're growing up, right? Like you see it on shows, you see it in the media, you see it everywhere you go. Like it's all like that's what it was, especially when I grew up in like the 80s and the 90s. You know, I think it was like fucking Rosie O'Donnell that I was like, yeah, like, come on, Rosie, who was like the only lesbian like out, I think, at the time in the early 90s. You know, like
Rosie.
do you even know who I'm talking about?
I remember. And she had a wife and she adopted kids.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But no, I grew, yeah, like there were not like spaces in schools, you know, when I was growing up for being like in that community, LGBTQ. Like I think even then it was still only like lesbian and gay, like maybe, and bisexual. Like, you know, it was very different. I'm sure it was like was more than that because that all stemmed from like a riot.
Yeah.
You know, from a Black trans woman that
Yeah.
started the whole pride thing anyway. So that's why we fucking celebrate it, right? It's like literally that space and showing up as who you are, your authentic self. And you know, if you didn't have that maybe in your home, right? Or like your family, that happens a lot. So a lot of people hide who they are and they don't feel comfortable sharing, like, and allowing themselves to express that part of them, or which is, I think, a really big part.
And I have a question. Do you think you could be two-spirited and not be gay? Like you hold the masculine and the feminine part, but not. Do you know what I mean?
I think so.
Like,
I don't
because-
know, like if I have an answer for that, but what I was talking to my dad about, so we were having this conversation. So, and I'll just back up a little bit because I didn't come out till I was like 24. Okay, so that's like pretty late, like for when it comes to like my dad anyway, and my mom. I just kind of like told her one day. She's like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool, back, whatever," but because we're not like super close. But I was like really hesitant to tell my dad for sure. And so when I did, he was so like beside himself and shocked and like confused and didn't know how to take it and didn't know how to like even talk to me about it. Like he literally left the province to go to a different city to go to a support group for parents of gay children. That's how like he just could not go there in even the place that he lived in. And so I felt like really like, you know, I felt like really ashamed a little bit and like, should I have told him now? Like, is he, you know, like, is he ever gonna like love, you know, is he still gonna like love me? Is he gonna still want to be talk to me? Or are we still gonna, you know what I mean? We weren't super close at the time, but you know, I had those questions running through my mind, but he was actually like quite homophobic back then. And it was noticeable and he had his struggles, but now, so fast forward now, I mean, he's come a long way, like a very long way. And I'm, you know, I have two-spirit. My sister, his wife's daughter, is also two-spirit. So it's like you get like double. You get like the double like two-spirit, queer, whatever you want to call them in your life because you were fucking homophobic before. So now you're gonna learn, but to love people as they are. So back to your question, we were having this conversation and I don't think I could have that conversation with him when I was 24. That's my point, right? It's like people will evolve if you just allow them to. but also don't stop loving yourself and being who you are for that reason. But we were talking about two-spirit people, and this is like two-spirit people have existed since the beginning of time. Okay, when it comes to Indigenous cultures, that means like we all embody a masculine and feminine energy anyway. So I think that like there is a difference. Like I think there's a difference between two-spirit people and then just being like somebody that's has a masculine and feminine energy and isn't gay,
Right.
or wouldn't like maybe be sexual with men and women, or like that kind of thing. I don't really know, but I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think? What do you guys think?
I think it's amazing. I do. I think it's beautiful. And I love that not enough people and not enough space is being, is there for everyone to feel safe to be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But, I see, people online, and I see people in those spaces that highlight them as two-spirit relatives, as queer, as however they identify, and other kids get to see that,
Mm-hmm.
and that is so fucking cool. And I'm so proud of them. And when I think about like two-spirit people, that meme of like Tom Cruise on the couch. And he's like, yeah, that is like me when it comes to those little young people, those
Yeah.
young and old people who come out and love themselves and their whatever their sexuality and preferences, and are able to be loud and proud.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like it's also like if you're going to go beyond the physical, right? And the physical identification of something, we're infinite consciousness in a body. Mm-hmm. So maybe the reason why it's so, elevated and at the forefront is because the narrative is changing. Mm-hmm. That there's not just specific to a man and a woman, all the time, those like cis heteronormative lifestyles and ways to be together, because we are so expansive. Mm-hmm. The only limitation is like what we limit ourselves to in our bodies, mm-hmm. and what we choose. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that it's important for a certain space to be held for those that are still kind of figuring things out and still like exploring. Like I feel like self-exploration is constant, and we are constantly learning about ourselves and constantly evolving. Even me as an adult, I'm still learning about myself, learning about the things that I like, learning about things that I dislike, the things that I used to like, I don't like anymore. Those are constantly evolving. Those are constantly changing.
Like dick.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Macaque.
Dang.
Sorry, Summer, go on.
Sorry, not sorry.
Seriously, you guys are like...
Yeah, like, fuck.
But, things are... I just feel like it's okay to change your mind. If you like something one day, you might not like it the next. And to constantly allow yourself to be open and be honest with yourself, and explore the things that you think you like and then things that you think you don't like. And self-exploration is so important, and we are constantly learning about ourselves, and we are constantly evolving. So that's really all I want to say, because growing up, I've experimented, and I can't say that I'm 100% straight, but I can't say I'm 100% gay either. So what category does that put me in?
But you don't have to say you are any of that. You can
Right.
say what you want to say.
You
So-
can be attracted to whoever you want. You don't have to identify it and put it in that heteronormative
Right.
difference of what's what.
But nowadays people want you to, you know, to classify yourself: he, she, they, them, thou, what, you know what I mean?
Did
Thou,
you say thou?
thou shall.
My pronouns are thou.
But
Just tell them to fuck themselves.
you know what I mean? So like, that brings me back
Thank you.
to being your authentic self. What feels good to you? What do you feel like, being true to yourself? So, and be okay with the fact that that narrative might change.
Yeah, and I think that's like androgynous, or I like, I'm not as educated that I would like to be, but I know some people are just like, I'm gonna wear this bracelet is I'm feeling like more feminine, or this bracelet is that I'm feeling more masculine, or this bracelet is I'm feeling both.
Right.
And I think there's it's a looser, like it's getting less and less like stringent with how you identify. That's what I see anyway, compared to like, especially when we were kids, and I have kids, and there's like, yeah, oh my god.
Poor Tappy, it's past her bedtime.
I've been up for so long. Like 15 hours. I'm tired.
Just pull her all-nighter. All-nighter.
Yeah, right. I would be the grumpiest person ever tomorrow. But I think it's just so, I don't know. I think it's going to be a really cool next 30 years, because it's just going to change, and it's going to continue changing. And I love the evolving, the revolution, the evolution, stuff like that.
Well, and like Rachel said, I don't like labels. Just like, what would I label myself? You know what I mean? And I'm sure my past sexual partners that are male wouldn't like to hear this, but there's a part of me that likes to feel like a masculine, like the masculine part where,
girl, you queer as fuck.
I'm not.
Like, I don't know. I'm
kidding.
not gonna label you.
But I'm just kidding.
But I get that.
You know what I mean? Like, and not that that's saying anything negative to anything. It just is like an internal feeling, and but yeah, whatever that means. So,
yeah. And I think, well, maybe we'll figure it out next season.
Well,
yes.
my coming out party.
You get the whole entire summer. You get the whole entire summer. Or you just leave it for what you have and what you need and whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
And just like, that's the thing is it's like, I think, people want to feel like part of something, right? People want to belong somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what it means to be human.
Right.
As long as you know for what feels good and what resonates for you and what you like and you don't like and what, you know what I mean? Like, as long as you know that and are connected to your heart with that and are authentic with
right.
yourself and your truth, then you're just going to find that it doesn't matter, because when you start to just really fully feel that and allow that, it's just going to come to you. You're not
Right.
going to have to like wonder or like think about it or be curious about it. It's just, you're just going to know. You're going to know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's this meme. So my best friend, and I shared this meme with my best friend, Mel. And it's just because she always says, if I liked women, I would totally date you. Like, I would totally, like, whatever. She's like, if I could do that part with women. And then there's this meme, and it's like a clip from Sex and the City where Charlotte is talking to this lady, and it's like, I really love women, and like, you know, blah 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 and all this stuff about women, but I could just never like go like do that to them, like to go down like there or whatever. And the lady that she's talking to is like, honey, if you're not gonna eat pussy, then you're not a dyke. Like, and I sent that to my best friend because she'd always be like, I wonder if I like could, you know, like, and then she's like, because I would totally like date you, and then all this stuff, and then I sent her that meme, and we laughed so hard because it's like, you know, like if you if you can't, then you're, you know, like then there's not much more to like think about. But if you can, then
you probably are.
Then welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. My friend.
The best club.
S Club. It is 1:36.
Okay.
And we did a whole entire show. We did 12 whole shows.
12 whole shows. A lot of winging, a lot of technical difficulties, but you know what? We showed up. We
did it.
Flowed, and it's been so much fun together. And thank you for being here with me in this space every Monday, every Monday-ish, for the last 12 weeks.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun, and I love you all, and it was just fun. And I just can't believe it's been this long. What a commitment. You're my longest relationship.
I know, same. I'm back on the market. Yeah.
So we should just, stay tuned. Stay tuned to the Facebook, Instagram. We'll post when we might be coming back and what we'll be talking about. And yeah. Enjoy your guys' summer and your whatever lipstick Toppy's wearing, my cock.
Yes, and celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself every day. Don't just wait for a month, celebrate the little things.
Yeah. Do all of that.
Yeah.
And I'll see y'all. And if you ever want to creep us, I think we all three of us have public profiles on Instagram.
Yes.
So I'm getting married soon. Do you want to creep me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send her a gift.
I take cash or earrings.
Drop your PayPal.
Yes.
And
For a piece of land.
I'm looking for land actually, but I'm marrying a white guy, so I have land. So, but thanks.
I know. That's how I got mine.
Oh,
you're just gonna take your men. But okay, bye. Love you guys.
Yeah, love you.
Love you.
Bye. We miss you,
Bye.
Shay.
Yeah, miss you, Shay. Bye.